And we are back. Welcome to the final day of the first international break of the season, as club football fans can rejoice that club football is on its way once again. But we have one last massive day of predictions to go for you today. We have 9 games from Euros qualifying, and we are going to have a brief discussion about the England-Scotland game as well, which is the game I will be watching. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss my post-match reaction to the England-Scotland game this evening, because I imagine it's going to get pretty heated. But before we get into that, of course, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video. And let's talk about what we're actually here for, which is the 9 games in Euros qualifying this evening. And we'll kick off with Group A and the match between Norway and Georgia. Now, when these two sides met earlier on in the group stages, it was a 1-1 draw. However, Norway were missing a certain Erling Haaland, who will definitely be available and more than likely starting for Norway this evening. And of course, that first game was away in Georgia. This time, this is at home for Norway. So with those two things combined, I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised when I predict a Norway win, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to the Norwegians to kick off today's predictions. The other game in Group A sees Spain taking on Cyprus. Now, Spain, of course, have not had the best start to this tournament, losing to Scotland early on, but they put a 7-1 win in against Georgia the other day, and you have to feel that Cyprus are not in any sort of state to be able to handle Spain tonight. I'm going to go for 5-0 to Spain. It could be a lot more. I went for 6-0 to Portugal yesterday. It ended up being 9-0. So this could be one of those games where it's just a case of how many goals end up going in, but I'm just going to settle for 5. From Group A, we move to Group C, which is, of course, England's group. England will, of course, not be playing in European qualifying tonight because there are only 5 teams in the group and the other 4 are playing. That is why we are playing Scotland. What we are doing instead is we have got a game between Italy and Ukraine to start things off in Group C. And I think this is a really interesting one. Now, obviously, as we know, Italy have made a terrible start to qualifying by their standards, losing at home to England, drawing away with North Macedonia in the game earlier on this week. Ukraine, of course, got the draw against England the other day, and if we're being honest, probably deserved to win that match. So I think this is a great opportunity for Ukraine to leapfrog Italy in the group by getting a win tonight. I think they're more than capable of getting a draw, which would probably be a very good result for them, meaning that if they beat Italy in the reverse fixture, then they would be able to get through at Italy's expense. I'm still not quite there yet. I still think you have to look at the teams on paper and just say that Italy should, in theory, be too strong. And I'm going to go for a very cautious 2-1 win to Italy, which is the exact same scoreline I went for the other day when North Macedonia were able to get the draw. But surely Italy wins, surely, right? Well, we shall see. I think it would be a great result for Ukraine if they were able to get anything from that. The other game in Group C sees Malta taking on North Macedonia, and North Macedonia won the reverse fixture relatively comfortably. I'm backing them to do the same this time. I'm going to go for 2-0 to them. I don't see Malta doing anything against North Macedonia, and obviously they themselves will be looking to build on good performance against Italy by getting the win this evening. After that, we then move on to Group F. We have Groups F and I to go, and we start off with Belgium taking on Estonia. Again, a game that really shouldn't be too difficult to call. Belgium won the away fixture 3-0, so I'm going to back them to win the home fixture 4-0. The more interesting game in this group sees Sweden taking on Austria. Now, these are two sides that are playing relatively well at the moment, but I think the side that have really impressed everyone the most, in particularly in this group, is Austria. They pulled off some fantastic results so far. They beat Sweden 2-0 in the reverse fixture, and of course they got that draw away in Belgium earlier on in this group as well. So I think really this is Austria's game to lose. I think on paper, again, they've got a slightly better side than the Swedes. The Swedes are sort of building up a decent team, but I don't think it's quite there yet. I think this is Austria's moment to have a really good run internationally, and I'm going to back them to get the win at Sweden's expense, and I'm going to go for 2-1, which will more than likely mean that it will be Belgium and Austria that end up going through from this group, and Sweden will be eliminated. On to the final group of all of the European qualifiers for this international break. It is Group I, and we start with Israel and Belarus. Israel, of course, not in the best of form themselves. However, they were able to beat Belarus in the away fixture earlier on in this tournament. So I would definitely expect them to now get the win at home. It was 2-1 away. I'm going for 2-0 at home. Then we have Romania against Kosovo, and I say it every time we talk about Kosovo, they are the draw specialists. 5 draws in their last 6 games, including the reverse fixture in Kosovo, which was a 0-0 draw against Romania. I hate going for 0-0s, and I'd be very tempted to go for 0-0 again, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw instead. I don't think either side particularly are good enough to beat the other, so like I say, I think 0-0 really is a genuine possibility. It could be a case of just first goal wins, but I'm so determined to give this one as a draw that I'm just going to go for 1-1. And finally, the last game of the international break sees Switzerland taking on Andorra. Switzerland, of course, did blow it the other night with a 94th, it was either 92nd or 94th minute equaliser against Kosovo as they again got their draw. But now at home to Andorra, a side that they've already beaten away from home in this competition, I don't think there's going to be any more surprises from the Swiss point of view. I'm going to go for 3-0, which will pretty much all but seal Switzerland's place at Euro 2024 if they do get this win. And then, like I say, we're not going to have an actual prediction for England-Scotland, but I'm just going to basically say, as an England fan, if we don't win this game tonight, my reaction is going to be something you've probably not seen on this channel. I think to lose to Scotland would be worse than losing 4-0 to Hungary, purely because of what's at stake. It is, in my opinion, England's responsibility to essentially keep Scotland in line. We are a much better football team than Scotland. We cannot afford to suffer the embarrassment of letting them have a result against us. And don't get me wrong, Scotland have played some fantastic football over the last few months, none more so than beating Spain, as we've already discussed. But the amount of quality that England have available to them, quite frankly, if they don't beat Scotland tonight, it will be yet another final straw for me, who is obviously very much Southgate out as things are already. But if we don't get the result against Scotland tonight, I'm probably going to go off on one like you've never seen. So like I said earlier, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you are, because there's going to be one hell of a reaction tonight, I think, whatever happens, because I've still got to talk about the Ukraine game as well. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully, I will see a lot of you this evening, but if not, Premier League predictions will be back at the usual time on Friday, so I'll see you then.